Hello everybody, welcome to Olga channel. Hope everyone is doing fine this morning. Okay, my name is Cindy and this is Olga channel. Please subscribe to the channel and also like the video when you are done watching. Alright, so today I'm going to talk about how to use Excel to solve for a linear programming problem. So how to use Excel for linear programming. So in my previous video, we talked about how to formulate linear programming from a given problem. So we use this question to solve that. And then today we are using the answers we got to what? Solve for our various variables using Excel. So if you want to know how we came about this formulation, then please watch the other video and God will surely bless you. Alright, so today we are going to use this solution or this formulation to solve for the unknowns and realize that in this question there are 4 unknowns, which means that we can't use the graphical method to solve them. We can't use you can't use the graphical method to solve them. With the simplest method, I'm not familiar with that, so I won't go there. But we can also use the computer, that's Excel, to solve for the unknowns. And it's very simple because Excel has a lot of inbuilt functions that aid our work, or that makes our work very simple and easy. So we'll move straight to Excel. So you see, I've already done that, but I'll go through with all of us one by one. So with linear programming, there's no let me say fixed way of solving it. It's based on the question, get it? And before you can solve it, you need to know how to formulate. So you can watch the video on how to formulate it, which I'll add to the video later or to the description later. But then today we are looking at how to solve the problem. It is not enough to know the problem, but it's better to solve the problem. That is all what this world is about, the technology, all those stuffs, just to solve various human problems. So today I'm using Excel to solve for our linear problem. But then I want to remind us that this is not automatic. Someone would say, why don't you just put in the figures and then go to the interpretation? But then you're not in school just to pass your exam, but you're in school to gain a skill. So it's better to understand so that when you go to, or when you start working, maybe the industry you find yourself, the company you find yourself, you're asked to do this with Excel, be able to do it faster and easier. All right, so let's move straight into business. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll follow the criteria for formulating the problem. So the first one was we define our decision variables, and then we saw that the decision variables were already defined in the question that we used. So this how the question was. So they already defined the decision variable for us. So in Excel, you have to also write the decision variable. So it's like you are just inputting the information from your formulation to Excel. So you just move to Excel. So you start. I prefer to write the company's name, which is Crass Sandals Limited. Sorry, I'm not feeling that well. Crass Sandals Limited. All right. So that is, sorry, Excel is fooling. That is all. So I prefer to first write the company's name, then move on to the decision variables. I want to format this. Okay, so we'll move on to the decision variables. That's the first thing of the formulation stage, right? So you write your decision variable. So in Excel, you're just inputting the information. What is important is how to know or how to use the formulas in Excel in order to derive the right answer. And then we'll use the Excel the adding solver to solve for this. So first write our decision variable, and it will be your best interest towards practice, because let's say you are just waiting for exam, but then in exam they'll solve it for you and then give you the sensitivity analysis. But before you start answering the question, they'll ask you to formulate what the problem, and then it's easy to get the problem, the formulation wrong. But then if you practice like that, let's say you get questions, you write the formulation, you use Excel to solve it, to prove to yourself whether you are correct or wrong. So enable you to what, be efficient in formulating the linear problem, a program, sorry. So it's in your best interest to learn it. So our decision variables are four. We have S as under A, sorry, under A on the new production line, sandals A on the old production line, then sandals B on the new production line, then sandals A on the old production line. Get it? So the next one was what? We define our objective function. But then because we are using Excel, you don't just put to that point. You have to let the let Excel know. So this XAN is for what product, is for what, you get it? Okay, so you can say that the name of what the product is, or let's say just name. So here is what sandal A, right? On the new production line. So let me make it shortcut so that, but then we know, right? Okay, let me just write on the new production line. So if let's say it's Nokia, you just write Nokia. With the tables, you write tables, you get it. In this one, is under A on what? Old production line. This is sandal B on on old, sorry, on new production line. Then we have, so here is supposed to be B, not A. And we have sandal B on what? Old production line. Then we are done with naming the particular products in question. But sometimes you won't get on production line, just get sandals, sandal A and B, or chairs and table. But in this case, we have four variables, four decisions to make. You get it? All right. So after that, you write the what? Number to produce. Because Excel is a software, so you have to give it input for it to what? Produce an output. If you don't fill in or write the things, well, Excel will not be able to solve it for you. Get it? So when you're starting, or when you are starting with this, you know that you are yet to figure out the amount or the quantity of what X sandals A and sandals B to produce on both the production line and then a new production line. So since we don't know, just initialize it to 0, right? We don't know, so let's assume it is 0. Then after that, so now we've gotten our decision variable 0, 0, 0, 0. So let's say here was 5, here was 2, here was 3. It will be the same, but here lies the case. We don't know the quantity to produce yet. It's Excel that is going to solve for us to know how much should I produce for A on the new production line, and likewise for the rest. So now after defining the decision variables, so all these are under the decision variables. Then you move on to the objective function, which is this one. And then we'll write this, but look at how we write it in Excel. So before we write, we'll just state the objective function. We need to write the contribution for what each product, get it. So I said it in a previous video that we talked about contribution means that what amount will this product contribute to profit. So in the question, we realize that it's a cost question, right? So it means that Sandals A on the new production line contribute 30 cedis to what the cost. Sandals A on the old production line will contribute 50 CD each toward the cost. So those are what units per cost. So you write down one to here, units per cost, because Excel is all about formulas, and then it's not nice to just include normal figures in the formulas. You need to use the words, the cells, and then the rows. That's the cell referencing. That's why you have to write them. So the unit per cost for Sandals A, the production line is 30. Then for AO, it is what 50. For BN, it is 25. Then for BO, it is 40. So let's cross check and see whether we are correct. So 30, 50, 25, and then 40, right? Okay. So inputting the information, then we'll come here or anywhere. You can just write objective but function value. So here we see that from this side is what 30 times what the XAN. That's quantity for XAN plus 50 times XAO, and then it goes on like that. So if you want to translate this in Excel, we have the sum product function. But then let's look at this. Let's assume we don't want to use the sum product function, and then want to do it in a normal way. So we'll say it's equal to Excel, before you input any formula, it's equal to Pascal, right? Equal to the sign. So equal to, so from the formulation, realize that it was 30 times what XAN. That's quantity of XAN. So you can say this 30, right? Times this quantity of XAN, right? Plus this 50 times quantity of XAN, right? Plus this 285 times quantity of what? XBN plus this 40 times the quantity of SBU, right? So this is how we see it from this side. Like 30 times quantity of XAN plus 50 times. So we just inputted the same thing here. And we got 0. So let's use the sum product function, and then let's see if we are going to get the same thing. So the sum product is telling us that you group all the contributions at one side, then or in one range, and you group all the quantity to produce in another range. So when you type the sum product function, then you would select the range for what the contributions, then you bring comma, then you select the range for the quantity, then you what, sorry, you select the range for the quantity, and you got 0, right? So what this sum product function does is, since you've grouped all the contributions in one range, to pick the first one, multiplied by the first range or the first item in the other range. You get it? So that's so it's the same as you doing this times this plus this times this, but it's all waste of time. Because if you want to be efficient in the organization, you need to work, or you need to be fast or use shortcuts. So it's up to you. Either ways, you get the same thing. Then after working with our objective function, we move on to our constraints, right? So with our constraint, we know that this side is our left-hand side, right? And this side as our right hand side. Just use your hand. No, this is left, this is right. Okay. So come here and write constraint so that you yourself you understand what you are writing. So constraint. The first constraint is relating towards sandals what A. So we write it sandal A. What is sandal A saying? So make sure that whatever you write to be under the what the decision variables because we multiplying adding. So you can't write it here because the decision variable doesn't start from here, it starts from here. Right. Okay. So this side. Then it's saying that XAN, that's sandals A on the new production line plus sandals what A on the old production line should be greater than or equal to 50,000. Since we know that every number that is standing alone or every variable standing alone has what 1 in front, so it has a coefficient of what 1, which is invisible or we don't write. So here, since we have our XAN already here we just write the coefficients. So let's say if it was 5XAN plus 2XAO greater than or equal to 50, here would have been 5. Then it will multiply this XAN here, get it. But since it's 1, that's the coefficient is 1, just write 1 here. And the second one is also 1 from the first constraint. Realize that this is 1, the second one is also 1. So write the second one, also write 1 here, right? Then there's nothing for what XBN and XBO in the first constraint. So if there is nothing, it means they are 0, right? Nothing means 0. So for their coefficient, they will be 0. You can't say you ignore. If you ignore, Excel can give you a solution. So you just put 0 there for Excel, right? So you put 0. So what's next? We see that there is what greater than or equal to the, but then we shouldn't forget that Excel deals with what formulas. We've just written the coefficients there. So what should Excel do with it? So you need to what define this part, this left hand side for Excel, right? So Excel will know that, oh, okay, so the quantity for XAN, that's 0, is multiplying its coefficient 1. So if I'm solving, then it means I should know how I solve it. But if you just leave it like that, just by the coefficients, Excel wouldn't understand. As I said, here is the left hand side, right? So you go here, and let's say you can write, say, the left hand side, just for your own clarity. So let's say you wrote left hand side. And what are we doing? The same way we solve for the objective function value. We just want to rewrite our constraint here. And in our constraint, it says that this coefficient times this quantity of XAN plus the coefficient times this quantity of SA should be greater than or equal to 50,000. So we are working with the left hand side first, which says what? This one times the quantity of this one plus this times the quantity of its what item, right? Don't forget these ones are there, you can't ignore them. So you have to add them. They'll give you 0 though, but you need to add them to make Excel understand what you are saying. All right, so okay, so this times this one plus this times this plus this 0 times this 0. So here I could just use the sum product and then go straight for it. But since it's the first tutorial I'm doing, then I'll just use the multiplication, then addition, multiplication, addition. But if I'm to combine everything in another video, I'll just use Excel shortcuts and then move on. Okay. So this is the left hand side. Then the right hand side, which says what? This is the right hand side, 50,000. So here you just ignore this sign because this sign will be effective when you are using the solver to solve for it. So you just work on the left hand side, and then the right hand side, just write it there. So the right hand side is the constraint you are working with, right? Which is what, 50,000. Then we'll do same for sandal B. So that's our second constraint. So our second constraint, sandal B. So this one is having a coefficient of 1 and 1, and then its right hand side is 70,000. So we'll do the same for it. So here we just write 1. No, sorry, 0, because this is for XAN, but we are working for sandal B. So XAN will be initialized to 0. The second one will also be initialized to 0. Sorry. And then the XBN is 1. The coefficient is 1. The XBU's coefficient is also 1. So the left hand side will also do the same for it, which is what this. I'm coming. All right, so which is what this times the quantity to be produced plus this coefficient times the quantity to produce plus XBN's coefficient times the quantity to be produced plus XBO's coefficient times the quantity to be produced. We've gotten 0. So this one we could have used the sum product, but then we use this one for now. And the right hand side is 70,000. So here you ignore the sign for now. We'll need it in the solver. And the next constraint. So you might think it's daunting, but because I'm talking, that's why. So I'm doing it on my own. It's faster. So we just move on to the next constraint, which is new line, right? So please like the video, subscribe. So new line, so you come here and then you write new line. And then we'll go and check. So this one is having only 2 variables and the coefficient is 1 and 1. So you have to be careful. This one is what? Sandals A on the new production line and then sandal B on the new production line. So it means the rest of the items will be 0. And the right hand side is what? 80,000. So we'll go sandals A on the production line is 1. A on the production line is 0 because it's not part of the constraint, so it has to be 0. Then B on the new line is 1. And B on the old line is also 0. And then also we'll continue with the same formula here. This times this plus this one times its quantity plus this coefficient times its quantity plus its coefficient times its quantity. Right? So you see how it's easy it is not. The same way when you're writing a text exam, you're not going to get the computer to solve for it, right? But your formulation might not be right. Okay, so if you don't practice and practice and practice, so you have to practice how to formulate. Use the computer to solve so that you will know, oh, okay, so this one I did it right, or I have to shift it this. Then you check the language in the formulation to help your own self. Okay. All right. So the right hand side was 80,000. Just write it there. So the right hand side is just easy. Let's write it there. The last constraint is the old line. So in that same way, it's also what? Sandals A on the old line plus sandals B on the old line. And then its right hand side is 60,000. Their coefficient is also 1. So it means the rest of the items will be 0. So this sandals A on the new production line is 0 because it's not part of the constraint. But A on the old production line is part, its coefficient is 1. Then XBN is also 0 because not part of the constraint. And as B on the old production line is part, which is 1. And then the right hand side is what? 60,000. Then the left hand side is equal to this coefficient times this quantity plus this coefficient times this quantity plus this coefficient times this quantity plus this coefficient times this quantity. So that's it. You are done putting your constraints in Excel. But don't forget that there is a what? No negativity here. But here, we don't usually write that in Excel. But when we are solving, we include them in the solver add-in or in the solver dialog box. Get it? Okay. So now we've inputted our information in Excel. Now I'm going to use the solver to solve it. So if you want to add a solver to your dashboard, or how should I say it, your ribbon. So you have to go to files, then you go to more, that's for Windows. You go to option. So this dialog, but you go to add-ins. So you see that my own solver is not okay. Solver is here. I've already added it to my own applications or my so it's just here. And just go to go. See, I've ticked the box, so it means it's already there. So if I go to my data, I'll find what solver here. So that's what I'm going to use to solve it. So here I have to be careful not to make mistakes. So you just click on the solver, then the dialog box will open, and then saying set objective. So we all know that it's talking about objective function. So you go to the cell that contains the objective function. And what cell is that? This cell G7, because it has the value, or it's a cell that contains what the formula to find the objective function value, right? So just click on that. Then is your goal to minimize or maximize? So in our case, it is to what? Minimize our cost. So the how should I put it? The default is max. When you open the solver, is maximum. But then you have to know what's the question asking you, maximum or minimum. So here is minimum. That's you want to minimize production cost. So you use the minimum. Then changing variable cells. So what be my variable? We know that it's the what? Unknowns, right? Because they are those that the idea going to increase, decrease the quantity to enable us to get more profit, enable us to get lower cost or what higher cost. So they are the changing variable cost. So you go to the cells containing the what? The quantity of the decision variable. So this is the cell. It contains the quantity for that X sandals A on the new production line. So you just select that range. Okay, just select that range. Then you move on to subject to constraint. So with that, you see the add button. So just click on the add button. So now you are done with the objective function. You are done with the decision variable. So now you are on the constraint. And this small dialog box has opened when you click on the add. And then the cell reference. So just from this, you can see that this is the sign that we saw here, right? The signs. So it means that from the box, the cell reference will be the left hand side, and then the constraint will be the right hand side. Just looking at how you wrote the formulation and how it has been presented here. So it means this one is the left hand side, this one is the right hand side. That's why you need to solve for the left hand side and the right hand side. So for this first constraint, you select this one, that's H10. Then you look at the sign in your question. Is it greater than or equal to? Is it less than or equal to? Or is it equal to? So in Excel, the default is less than or equal to, but you have to know, else Excel will give you a wrong answer. So our first constraint saying that it was greater than or equal to, right? So in the dialog box, you have to scroll down and select greater than or equal to. Then you select your right hand side. Because it's not just only one constraint, you have to click on the add button. Then you do the same for the rest. So we move on to Sandal B, And then the question, the sign is greater than or equal to, right? So we'll do same here. We'll change it to greater than or equal to. Then the constraint sign, will select this one. Then add. Then you click on the left hand side here. Go and check. So the new line, what's the sign? Is less than or equal to, right? So it's already here. So you just leave it like that. And then you pick your right hand side, which is 80,000. Then you add the last one, which is the new old production line. You select the left hand side, look for the sign, which is also less than or equal to. Then it's already here. Just click on the right hand side, which is this aspect, right? But then don't forget that we are not done with it, right? It's left with the non-negativity constraints. Because if you leave that out, Excel will not know whether to restrict it to only the left hand side or the right hand side. You get it? So you have to add the non-negativity. If it wasn't important, it shouldn't have been added to the formulation. So it's very important at this point. So you add, because we didn't add it in Excel, you just select. Okay, so in the non-negativity constraint, we wrote what the XAN, that's the standard A on the new production line, standard A on the old production line, standard B on the new production line, and then standard B on the old production line. So we wrote it like this, right? So this telling us that we have to select the range of cells containing or the values for these decision variables. Then we have what's greater than or equal to 0. So you go to the Excel and you select the range containing the values for the decision variables. Then it's what's greater than or equal to, change the sign. Then here, just put your 0 there. And okay, you are done with the inputs, right? Then the next thing is, don't uncheck this box, leave it like that. Then they're asking you select a solving method. So you have to select simplest LP, because you're not dealing with non-linear programming, you're dealing with linear programming. And then the options there is just simplest LP, that gives us that access to solve for linear programming. Then after that, you just click on your solve button. So Excel is solving it for us. So let's see what Excel will give us at this point in time. So you see from this side that Excel has solved for us. And since this the decision variables, the quantity, they are the changing variables, right? So Excel solved it for us, and now you no longer have 0. We have 50,000 for the X A, and that's the Sandals A on the new production line. We have 0 for the Sandals A on the old production line. Then we have 30,000 for Sandals B on the new production line. We have 40,000 for Sandals B on the old production line. So realize that using Excel to solve for linear programming is very easy, but then you have to know the formulation, because if your formulation is wrong, Excel is going to give you an invalid answer, right? So you have to make sure that your formulation is what accurate. Then when you are inputting it also in Excel, you have to make sure you understand, okay, so am I writing the coefficients correctly? On the left hand side, am I using the correct formulas? The right hand side, am I just putting the correct figures there? Because garbage in, garbage out. Excel is a software. So whatever you put in Excel, Excel also give you an answer. Put in garbage, Excel give you garbage. So let's go to our sensitivity table. Let's see, okay, is our answer correct based on the solving or the solution in our question? So this is our question, and then this the table that they give us to answer. But then we solve this to see whether our formulation is correct, because here they didn't give you the formulation, just so you use this to solve, but then they're asking you to solve to write the formulation. So since we are just using it as a trial question, you have to see, oh, okay, so what I formulated, was it correct? If yes, it means I would have gotten it correct, right? So this is how the table looks like. So let's go to ours. So we click on sensitivity, and then okay. So Excel is preparing it for us. Let's wait more. Excel, Excel, yeah, Excel, yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so Excel is still preparing. So Excel is done preparing for us. And this is our sensitivity report. But today I'm not going to talk about how to interpret it, but I just want you to have an overview to see that you can, in your own comfort zone, if you really learn how to use the Excel, you need to practice, you'll be able to find it easy to formulate most of the linear problems. You get it? So just in your own comfort zone. So these are solution. So let's compare it with what is here. All right, I'm coming. So you see that for XAN, that's Sandals A on the new production line, we have 50,000. Sandals A on the old production line, which is XAO, we have 0. Sandals B on the new production line, we have 30,000, 30,000, 40,000, 40,000. With the reduced cost side, we have 0, 5, 0, 0. The same applies here. We have 30, 50, 25, 40, the same. So here we know that they just give us this sensitivity analysis, but they ask us to formulate. So we formulated in my previous video, and we solved it in Excel to reassure us that our formulation is correct. That's what I'm saying. You learn it, practice on your own, so that you'll be able to solve most of the formulation questions. You get it? So it means that our formulation was correct. Then this brings us to the end of this video. God has been so good. It has been fruitful. I'm so happy. All right, so basically, just it's important to know how to use the Excel to solve for the formulation to help you when you are doing or you are solving for most questions, trial questions, and all that. So just enjoy the video, like, subscribe, share, and God will surely bless you. I hope this really helps. If you have any question, you can leave it to the comment section. I will gladly respond. God bless you. Stay safe and have a nice day. I love you guys. Bye.